What's up, everybody? I think that Taika Waititi wanted to make a movie that involved Guns N' Roses, and then just so happened to be allowed to make a Thor film.
Honestly, I'm okay with that.
I am too. I was like, how deep is this gonna go? And the movie just kept going and going and going. I'm like, man, I really think they wanted to hammer it home. They wanted to do something with Guns N' Roses.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of how much Queen was featured on the Highlander soundtrack, and he was clearly going like, "Yeah, let me do that, but with a different band."
Yeah, pretty much. It was just yikes. No, it was great though. Even down to Heimdall's son wanted to be called Axel.
Yeah.
Or listen here, asshole. We don't need to get into few things Taika Waititi knows how to do better than conversational dialogue. The dude is mastercrafting at it in most parts. There is some parts where I will admit where I was kind of like, some stuff could have got left out, but that's either here or there. This was great. There was a comment that go read the synopsis first. Go ahead.
Okay, so hold on, give me a second. Computer's freezing. Anyway, so after his retirement is interrupted by Gore the God Butcher, a gigantic killer or a galactic killer who seeks the extinction of the gods, Thor enlists the help of King Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster, who now inexplicitly wields Mjolnir as the mighty Thor. Together, they embark on a harrowing cosmic adventure to uncover the mystery of the God Butcher's vengeance and stop him before it's too late.
Anyway, what I was going to say, I can't remember where Hemsworth was getting interviewed at, but there was an interview where he was talking about this movie, and he's like, what kind of movie is this? He's like, it's the movie that 7-year-old Taika Waititi would have wanted to make. and I get that. I do. People are taking that quote out of context to try and rip on this movie. I'm like, you need to have it in the context of what he meant. It's all the cool stuff that he would have wanted to make as a kid he got to make. And it shows.
Let me just look up his age really quick, because this definitely felt like a movie that was like, okay, he's 46 now. Yeah, this would have been a movie that like Canon Films made in the 80s.
Yeah, it was great. And I said this in our Miss Marvel review. Outside of, and unless I'm missing something, outside of like certain parts where he's talking about like Huey in the news, where he's like talking about that what's up, Manny? Where Christian Bale, like that scene where he murders Jared Leto when he's like bebopping around his apartment. You don't get to see Christian Bale ham it up very often.
Nor do you see him like necessarily playing villains too often. And this is kind of that, but taken to 11.
This is one of my favorite Christian Bale roles ever. He looks like he's having the time of his life.
I would rather see more of this than like keeping him stuck in like the stoic kind of characters.
Yeah, I understand Christian Bale is a very professional person. I should say most of the time. He has a tendency to every now and then be a little unhappy. As far as like when he gets in acting mode, he's there. You do not get to see him goof off, I would say, in a role. I am looking so forward to there possibly being a gag reel for this.
Same.
To see Christian possibly like goofing off and laughing is nuts, because I have never seen him like this.
I've only seen him like this in interviews where he gets to be a little bit more of his jolly British self.
Yeah, he was having he was a 90s comic book, like he looked like he was out of like Masters of the Universe in this and how he portrayed himself. It was great. Just like his mannerisms and how he like changed his voice and or like that. Like I just like just the scene where he's like playing with the eel and he snaps his, oh, you liked that a minute ago. Why don't you like it now?
It's that very fine line between like silly but also terrifying.
Yeah.
And even like his motivation, he's doing this all because of the loss of his daughter.
Yeah, he was downright creepy. One thing Taika knows how to do in these, say what you want about anything that you do not like in these movies of his. I will fight you if you do not think that Taika knows how to direct a villain incredibly well. Hela and Gore. He has knocked it out of the park both times.
Yep.
Like into the next area code, he has knocked it out of the park.
And I think what I like about this movie a little bit more than Ragnarok is, well, one, because he actually was more involved in writing the screenplay, he got to add a little bit more of his personality. Like other people are comparing this to like Batman Returns in how that was like way more Tim Burton than the first one.
Okay, I can see that.
This is like more Taika, and not just it being like a yuck fest. There's actual gravitas with these characters.
This gets a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be, because I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw that they were doing the Mighty Thor thing, I didn't know like if they were going to involve the cancer aspect of it, because that's heavy.
Yeah.
And they didn't back off of that, which we'll get to that later. But I will say that I give them a lot of credit that they did, for the most part, treat that pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a throwaway joke. You're like, I got cancer. Let's go. Blah, blah, blah. No, it was a thing. But yeah, we'll start at the beginning. Man, Korg needs, like, I like how Korg has become Thor's Luis. We need more characters like that. I don't care if they're just dialogue machines. I could be so okay with that if their stuff is written well.
And he was also kind of like the narrator of the movie too.
Yeah. When he's talking about Thor losing everyone, he's talking about and his mom and his dad and him and whoever that guy was. I lost it in the theater.
And then he says, and Loki again, and Loki again.
And Loki again. It's so good. Oh, it was wonderful. I think Taika is a little bit too happy to say the dialogue that he writes at times, because, man, him as Korg is just off the charts good.
He's just so delightful.
He's so delightful. But yeah, and we're gonna start off with like my only, I want to say, somewhat legitimate gripe that I have with this movie, outside of some points where I thought jokes were not necessary. And there's only one or two of them, honestly. I didn't think it was overdone where some people thought it was. I don't. The relationship with him and Star-Lord felt off at points.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, they have never had like a super tight relationship, so at least that felt in line with previous films. But I think Star-Lord, just in general, he was written differently.
Yeah, he was kind of like fanboyish of Thor to a point where, in the last time you saw them, and again, I don't know how much time has passed, he was like borderline scared Thor was going to steal his ship and like command of it.
Although it was kind of funny when he was like, "Oh, you're giving me my ship."
That was hilarious. Turning Thor into the comedy of the MCU of the original Avengers was a stroke of freaking genius. That is something Chris wanted. He wanted something more fun to do, and just turning him into a goofball was the best thing they ever did. There's a reason he's got a fourth movie, and guess what? He's going to be coming back for more because at the end of the movie they say he's going to return. But yeah, he's like, she's a temperamental girl. I'm gonna have to take good care of her. You, as many memories as I've had, you just keep on going. I just they make Thor so overpowered in the beginning of this, where it's just like he has no issues solving problems. He's literally bored with his life because he has no purpose. They were very good at showing that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like trying to have fun with whatever he can. Witch broom rides Stormbreaker. And he's been sitting there for so long that Stormbreaker started sprouting roots there. But what was I gonna say? They showed that like he didn't have a purpose and he was like legitimately bored. I have to wonder, man, oh boy, do I have to wonder if right before this movie, Taika Waititi had never seen the screaming goat meme before, and then all of a sudden thought it was the coolest thing on the planet, because that is such an old, at this point for you and me, old meme.
It is like a classic meme by now.
Yeah, and the fact that I thought that was going to get old, it never did.
Nope.
When I about spit up my popcorn when the ship crashes into that moon. When it hits it, and then you just hear, "Ah!" It's so delayed. It never gets old. That joke killed me every time they brought it up. But anyway, so you had that very somber scene in the start, which we kind of skipped over, of him losing his daughter. And you played it pretty serious to show that gods can be dickbags. And for those that don't know, for the most part, in basic mythology, and very different to what the Thor you see in this and the Odin you saw in this, they're jackasses.
Yeah,
They are outright uncaring, heartless monsters.
Which kind of makes Russell Crowe's Zeus the most accurate to the myths.
Yeah, like there was this post I saw the other day that the most unbelievable thing, or the most inaccurate thing that Disney ever did, was make Zeus a caring father. When there was in the Disney film. But yeah, having Zeus and everyone in there be like that. They just got Russell Crowe to be Zeus, for give or take. He's gonna have more time. But yeah, I can't get over how genuinely from the start, just creepy and unjust that they made Gore immediately.
Yep.
Like, we need to have someone who can make this guy feel genuinely uncomfortable in a PG-13 movie.
They nailed it.
And it's to the opposite side of the fence as Wanda. They have the two, in my opinion, outside of Hela, back-to-back genuine, and Thanos, back-to-back genuinely scary villains they've had. Almost back to back. It's kind of nuts how they have nailed villains this close. It's crazy.
I hope they keep this up.
Me too,
because
man.
They're really doing a better job with villains like in these past two phases than the original first half of the MCU.
Yeah,
Because the complaints have always been the same: bland villain, just a copy of the hero.
yeah, and it's like, it's not one of those things where I don't agree with her. It's like, stop killing your villains off, blah blah blah. I'm like, if it's a one-note person that's going to be served for that film, you don't need to drag them out. But like you said, make them interesting. They are now. They're starting to really work on what they want these people to be. And like when you're getting Christian Bale to be Gore the God Butcher, you're starting to get these villains to be more well thought out to where people want to be these. So I can tell you right now, I never for the life of me saw Christian Bale being in it in the MCU.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So when he was announced, I'm like, oh, okay, they're going in this direction now.
Yeah, my interest immediately went through the roof because I was like, okay, you're gonna have some stoic, just right, just like out there guy, and then I'm like, no, you got a maniacal, like cackling weirdo. But a lot of good world setup. You got to see them go in pretty quickly with, man, help me out. Who was the guy that Jane was talking to about the Rosen Bridge?
That
actor looked so familiar.
Let me see if I can find him, because he does look so familiar. I could not place his name.
I couldn't for the life of me either. But yeah, and I was so happy again that like you got to have Selvig and Darcy be in this, because
yes,
Taika didn't get to have them in Ragnarok for obvious reasons. And it was like, if it's going to be the last actual official Thor film, I'm pretty happy that you got to have the crew back in there, even if it was for 2 minutes each, because Darcy's a damn treasure.
This does kind of feel like a final Thor movie, but who knows anymore? Unless they kill off Thor in like the Secret Wars movie or whatever.
I don't know what they're doing.
Like, we probably haven't seen the last of him.
Well, no, obviously, because they told us we aren't. But
that's true.
Yeah, but yeah, so, and I don't remember exactly how Jane got called to Mjolnir in the comics, but the little romantic comedy montage of like revealing that he basically accidentally made Mjolnir a promise to protect her was pretty cool. And I tell you, whoever, and it was probably Taika, thought to make the Hammers like borderline sentient, actual lineless characters in these was a stroke of genius.
Someone is clearly an Aladdin fan.
Oh, yeah.
Because Carpet, I think, is still one of the best examples of like the sentient inanimate object.
Yeah. When you just see Stormbreaker coming out of the frame to give the jealous girlfriend look at Thor. It's the funniest shit ever. And it's so subtle. They don't make a big deal out of it. You just see it coming out of frame. Or like when he was trying to call Mjolnir when they're in the office, and you just see Stormbreaker coming out and fully to his head. Oh yes, I was just calling you. No big deal. Well, what are you doing, Ethel? Oh man. Now, like, again, this movie zooms by.
It does.
I've seen it twice now. It's under 2 hours. It feels like it's an hour long. The pacing of this movie is off the charts. Well done. It's crazy.
It really is.
And so we have the fights in the town because, Gore is like tracking people down. Also, we got to have Sif back for a hot minute. I was pretty happy about that.
Same.
Sif, you have to actually die in the battle to get to Valhalla. Maybe your arm is in Valhalla.
foreshadowing in that scene is actually really good.
It is very, very good. But yeah, then we have the town meeting, and they figure out what they all want to do. Like just the general uncomfortableness, the chemistry where you got to see like you could tell on the second film that like Natalie Portman wasn't feeling it as Jane because she was very much the side character love interest to be there but for nothing but that.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to forget and like get pissy with her because she's like, oh, Patty Jenkins didn't get to direct, so she was being a puppet. I'm like, she didn't want to be Jane in the second movie anyway. She literally said that. So that's why she was ultra mad. On top of it, she agreed to be like she was more open because of Patty.
Yeah, so I honestly don't blame her for, I guess, kind of phoning it in the second movie.
Yeah. And she got to be a MacGuffin in the second movie. She literally held the plot device in her. That was it.
Yeah, not a fun role.
Not a fun role. And getting her back for this, she got to have a lot of meat to chew on for this. And you get to see how much it's affecting her with her not being okay, which I thought was pretty genuine. You got to see her mom's death. Wasn't expecting
which
that.
was a little heartbreaking.
It was very, very heartbreaking. And yeah, like trying to keep it a secret from Thor was hard. And it goes to like a couple of the seconds where it's like one of the two only times, and I can't remember exactly what the other one is, but the one time I genuinely thought that there was a joke in that should have got cut was the speaker in the hallway.
Oh, yeah, that was a little too much.
Because it kind of killed the mood, in my opinion. It's like, are you packed? Yep, I got this. And then like she brings the sword out, she brings the dagger, and then they do that, and then they cut back to a serious moment. Don't tell them about that, and then they're good to go. I'm like, you didn't need the laugh break. You could have kept that whole situation serious. That felt really wonky, in my opinion.
Yeah, either cut the joke or maybe save it for like after that moment.
Yeah,
it was.
You could have had her bring the grenade out when they were on the ship, or like the speaker. That'd have been fine.
Yeah, it's just in that moment it felt a bit clunky.
Yeah, it did. And yeah, so the basic plot line where we didn't mention is he captures the kids and then they're the MacGuffin that they want to get back and save. So they go to, and I've never heard of it before then, on Omnipotent City. Oh boy, is that on the nose. And they bring back the dumb on the Master of Disguises. That's stupid. What if I do this? That's stupidity. But was there any gods that you noticed that they didn't mention straight offhand?
That they didn't mention?
Yeah.
Well, the Ennead, a few Celestials.
Yeah, I noticed them when they were going off in the back. Dude, the fact that Korg's god sits on a chair of scissors.
That's funny.
I was just like, that is the definition of on the nose. But that's great. Like the god of dumplings.
Oh my god.
What is this? But yeah, man, again, Russell Crowe as Zeus. Are you serious?
He's perfect because he's a douchebag.
Exactly. Russell's really good at playing a douchebag. He goes from what is Superman's dad's name again? Zor-El?
Jor-El.
Jor-El, thank you. He goes from Jor-El, the stoic, fatherly, helping figure, to being douchebag Zeus, which is accurate.
Because in the comics, Hercules, which we'll get to in a second, is also a douchebag.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is. But the big grand entrance and all of this, and the flicking too hard when you got to that, man. Again, another just absolutely hitting the tone and joke when he does the big whooping and whoop too, and with all that, throws it. No, you don't get my lightning bolt. And again, we get with the seriousness here. They weren't like, they actually got gore for a good point to show in the film, like showing in the actual genuine tales, gods for the most part are useless. They don't care about the people that worship them.
They were either useless or like actively dicks.
Actively dicks. They do not care or want to punish people in real life.
And that's another thing that made Gore's motivation actually kind of sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
he's like, you know, he's the villain because he's killing people, but he's killing gods who aren't exactly innocent.
Yeah, and he's being non-discriminate about it. He's just, you're a god, you're done. It's just like, nope, we're getting through it. And it's just one of those things where it's like, Thor's like, I can't blame him for wanting to kill every one of you. How are you talking right now? And it's even like, we're safe here. He doesn't know where we are. I'm like, we could get rid of him if we wanted to. But he's like, yeah, he's got the Necro Sword, though. One god struck down the other guy that had the Necro Sword when he gave it a shot. But no, y'all are too scared. You have a room of like 500 gods, and y'all can't take the time to take care of this? There's children at stake.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. But again,
they don't care.
They don't care. I appreciate that they made Zeus a douchebag. I seriously thought that Thor killed Zeus.
I thought so too, but then I kind of the oh duh moment kind of occurred in the mid-credit scene where I'm like, oh right, he's a god. He can't go down that easily.
Well, it's like part of me thought that he was, because I didn't know what their plan was for after, because if they were just going to leave gods on the shelf after this, I could have been okay with that. But then again, we'll get to the post-credit scene earlier. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. I can't believe that. That made me so happy. But
of all the people.
Of all people, that dude was so good. He deserves it. We will get there. But yeah, they steal that, and they're just off to the races. Like, again, this movie just clips. And again, like you said, you just had Celestials just hanging out at the door. It's to the point of where they're not. We're at the point in the MCU where they're like, yeah, that generally would have been 8 movies leading up to that, but no, they're just hanging out in the corner now. It's nuts. It's just comics now. We're just to that point. It's awesome. They don't care.
Like we were not complaining, but we were observing how a show like Moon Knight had like very minor connections to the MCU, but they were there.
Yeah.
Just like how in, you know, a DC comic, like you can read Green Arrow and Black Lightning can just show up because it's the universe.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. And then like you'll have random parts where like for whatever reason the Riddler goes to Star City just because he feels like annoying Oliver. I love stuff like that. And we're finally to a point where that's possible, and it's great.
Yep.
Because again, restart the clock. I'm going to mention it. They make Endgame money every month now. Disney could not care less about taking risks at this point. Within reason, they can do what they want. Which part of me, we're going to get to the next scene. I kind of want to see a stylized, barely any color black and white MCU movie now.
That would be kind of cool, because I love the way that this like this next scene in like the shadow realm is presented. You know, it's completely devoid of color except for anything that makes light, like
Yes.
like Mjolnir, Stormbringer,
And then Thunderbolt.
yeah, Thunderbolt.
Yep.
Those are like the only sources of color.
Yeah.
And it really helps it helps like the contrast in that scene.
It does. Oh, also, by the way, we didn't skip it. My other complaint would have been if they would have actually killed Korg.
Taika wouldn't kill his own character.
But that was just the fact that he's just a face. But anyway, so yeah, that whole scene, just the effects of them, the pure black and white, them going off the planet, the effects of the shadow creatures coming up in the black just looks so cool. The effects department, like, as much as people gave crap for like one or two scenes looking off, were on fire for 99.9% of this movie.
Yeah, I do have my complaints about some of the shots that look off, but there's a larger discussion to be had about how poorly VFX artists are treated in the industry.
You remember
and Marvel is kind of one of the worst offenders because they're cranking out like so much material a year now.
Yep. You remember, like, for people like to forget, the time that Paramount got cyber bullied into changing Sonic's design, and then the company that did the design freaking shut down before the movie was even released.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Nobody likes to thank them or go to bat that they should keep their jobs. You're just happy you got your new design. People work their asses off for that.
So yeah, give VFX crews more respect, because if they're not given the respect or even just the time, then you're gonna keep seeing blunders like I don't know, the scene where Thor is teleporting to the children.
Yeah. And it's like, I won't go with that, like, say that I'm not perfect. I'll mention in these TV shows where shots look bad, in my opinion, how they did the shot looked bad. Like, there's certain points where it was just like, why did you do that way? That to me was not on the VFX scene. That was on editing. And boy, did some of it look bad sometimes, yes. But 9 times out of 10, it's how they're using green screens.
Yeah.
But,
or how some directors use the volume, which is the technology introduced in The Mandalorian. Yep. But not every production knows how to use it correctly. They just kind of, like, the worst way you use it is to just replace like building an actual set.
Absolutely. How are you doing, fellas? I honestly don't care if I'm spoiled. Man, you're missing out, because in my opinion, both this and Ragnarok were great, but to each their own. Glad you're stopping by. We're doing pretty good, honestly. In my opinion, I'm doing it pretty all right. I was very shocked how they treat Jane and Thor like having a genuine adult conversation. I thought a lot of that was going to be joking around, but like, Thor has had nothing to do in his life. And that was the one last time he genuinely had something to live for. And now that thing has cancer.
Yeah, that I was not expecting like that sort of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know technically the only reason why they broke up is because Natalie Portman wanted a break from the MCU.
Yep.
And this movie is just kind of like this was like their way of reintroducing the character, but still the dialogue between them was really well done, and this is probably the best chemistry that they've had in all 4 movies.
Oh, by a country mile. Absolutely. Even more than when they were first introduced, they're doing great. Because they went back on all that, and you could tell that there was an emphasis to make this count because it's one of the, I want to say, worst, if not the worst, of the couples that they set up in this. Because, like, Pepper and Tony, Peggy and Steve, and then you had Thor and Jane. No disrespect to the actors, but it was not well plotted out.
She was written as nothing more than a scientist, sure, but like outside of like a couple lines of jargon, she was just the love interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was anyways, it was a it was a good way to treat an actual serious storyline with some levity still.
Yeah, it's not like well, I don't know how many people here have watched the movie 50-50, but that movie kind of proves you don't have to be all like you don't have to be completely downer serious when talking about cancer. You can have your jokes, you can have your levity as long as the characters are believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And they did a good job of that, especially with how jokey Thor became. To have this be a serious moment where like he became jokey because he didn't have a lot going on in his life. He was just trying to have fun when he was miserable. And now it's like, no, now I'm being serious. I'm dropping the act. It was great. And that that again, leading up that fight, it just had to be him alone going there. The good relationship, like the fight with the kids was pretty great. I thought that was pretty awesome.
The girl with the stuffed animal just going to town on those shadow creatures was it was just so good.
It was great. It was awesome. It was spectacular. The kid with that bunny rabbit and the lightning bolts. That was hilarious. And then outside of like his mom and Loki for those 2 scenes, well, I should say the multiple times when Loki died, you didn't get to like see Hemsworth actually like be upset. Like the actual like reserved, just like, are you fucking kidding me? Can I not get a shred of happiness when he saw that Jane was coming back to help save him? He's just like, she's dead now. Like I get why she's doing this, but she's dead now.
Yeah, that was a bittersweet moment because it's like she sees him like yeah, he sees her coming. It's like, oh well, not surprising you didn't listen to me, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is gonna get done. I'm proud. Let's at least make this count. And they do. They get it all done. And I will tell you that when all got said and done, when they got into eternity, I want to say under your post, Colton talked about it. I thought they were going to do something, and I was very happy they didn't do it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm glad they did that too.
Yeah, I seriously thought that I thought that I was happy that they still had the brawl, but it ended up just not being him killing Gore. That he talked to him honestly, man to man. He's like, dude, I get it. Dear Lord, do I get it. Loss sucks. Everyone I have is dead. And the last one I have left is dying. I honestly thought that it's just like, oh, instead of the gods, I could help him to make up because like I get what it's like to lose someone. I was like, please don't do that. And then again, getting to see the one little look with his daughter, and I have to ask you something because I thought this was really weird. Why did they have Jane whisper something to him?
I have no idea. I was trying to figure out what that could possibly be, but I've got nothing.
Because like all it is a catchphrase, and you can't tell me it's something other than between those two. And then it never got brought up again in the movie. That was so weird.
Yeah, maybe somewhere down the line they'll explain it.
Yeah,
But for now, it's very odd.
it was very, very odd. But yeah, seeing Thor again needing something to live for, looking after Gore's daughter, that I didn't see coming, but it's pretty great.
I need to find out who plays the daughter because
She honestly reminded me. I know it's not the same actress, but she looked a lot like the girl who originally played.
it's Chris Hemsworth's daughter.
That is his actual daughter.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome. She looked a little bit like the girl who, excuse me, can't remember her name, played Scott Lang's daughter, the first one.
Oh,
She looked a little bit like her to me, at least.
She did a little.
But yeah, I remember them saying that all of Chris Hemsworth's kids had roles because, like, you see his son running in the forest at the beginning. That's his daughter. That's so great.
And of course, his brother is the theater Thor.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic. Also, speaking of the theater thing, we forgot to mention it. Matt Damon is no longer a cameo. He's just actually a character who performs Asgardian theater.
I love it. I hope he sticks around more often.
It's fantastic. Because that was like, when I saw him with my buddy again tonight, he's like, did they seriously bring Matt Damon back? I was like, yeah, they did.
Also, can we talk about the fact that New Asgard is basically a tourist trap?
Yeah, they have cruise ships lined up.
And an ice cream store called Infinity Cones.
Infinity Cones, and Meek is fully not a larva anymore. He's just hanging out doing his census paperwork. Thor's crew is huge now.
Yep.
But yeah, like now that I know that's his daughter, that scene with them at the end in that kitchen is so much better. Can you imagine how hard that could have been for Taika to direct that scene, or possibly how much fun he had directing that scene? It was either one or the other. There was no way that was the middle.
I need to see like more behind the scenes footage now.
That's fantastic. That makes so much sense, though, that's his daughter now. The chemistry they had was fantastic. But yeah, you basically turn Thor into like the universe's Robin Hood,
which is a good fit for him.
It is. It's awesome. You fight good. You fight good for the people who can't fight good, or I can't remember. Put up the good fight for those who can't fight good. I was like, that's pretty great. I called them Love and Thunder. That was so good. Oh, that turned out so wonderful. And again, you got more. Wait, before we go to that end credit scene, Taika, I don't know if that's what you meant of it, but I am pretty sure you made one of the most somewhat lamest but funniest Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson jokes I've ever seen.
Wait, what was the joke?
Korg.
Oh.
The Rock guy who he's courting with, his name is Dwayne.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's what he meant, but I'm pretty sure that's what he meant.
It has to be, because why else would you name like his rock boyfriend Dwayne?
Dwayne. I lost. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? But we get to the end credit scene. Zeus is alive. And he's like, we need to get revenge. We're jokes now. When they stop fearing us, because we stopped caring, all they want to see is superheroes. And he commands on his son to come out there and sing it with me, kids. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. Roy Kent. Roy Kent. I can't believe he is playing Hercules. I'm so happy for him.
That is just perfect casting. I can't believe
I can't believe a big break.
I can't believe Hercules is now in the MCU and that it's him.
And it's him. Because he is genuinely one of the best characters on a streaming service right now as Roy Kent. He is fantastic. And this is going to be, I hope this gets him so much more roles. Because he's fantastic. He's so good.
I still need to actually watch Ted Lasso, but...
Dude. Top notch. Everything about it's great. Lasso is fantastic. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, he deserves it. I hope he gets more stuff out of this. And again, MCU tends to help a lot of people, so
that it does.
And you don't introduce Hercules to be a one-off, whatever. That's gonna be a thing for a little bit. Where I don't know, because they kind of don't do phases anymore. They just have movies.
Yeah, like we're in phase 4 now, but there isn't really an endpoint. I mean, Feige will probably tell us like, hey, so phase 5 starts here.
Well, he said they're going to talk soon about what this technical saga is. And he's like, you've seen bits and pieces of what the overall... I'm like, Kevin, you've shown 17 different things. Is this the everything, everywhere, all at once saga? Is that what it is?
We'll find out probably either at Comic-Con or D23.
Yeah, they'll probably end up being D23. But yeah, and then one of the coolest things where in the whole movie I was like, man, if this is the last Thor film, it was cool that we got Heimdall's son, but the entire time I was like, man, I wish we could have at least got a flashback. Because Idris got upset about like some of the stuff in Dark World where he was like hanging from wires and doing all this stuff, but it seemed like he was better and more happy with what he did in Dark World. I was like, that was one of the one dudes that I would have been happy. Like Fendril and like all of them, I get it, but it was like they were pretty mercilessly killed. Seeing Jane die of her cancer, go to Valhalla, that broke me.
It's probably one of the most satisfying rewards for death.
It is.
Like, you don't really see it that often in media. Like either if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you know this too well. Either characters come back to life, or
they go to the home for
Infinite Losers.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because they couldn't put hell. So funny. Anyways, you were saying, I'm sorry.
Like you don't really see too often the heroes kind of like joining their version of heaven.
Yeah.
And
just assumed. Yeah.
But yeah, this is cool. And now in the MCU we have what, the astral plane. We have
you have the ancestral plane.
Yeah, ancestral plane.
You have I can't think of it technically what the version was in Moon Knight. You have Valhalla. I swear there's one more I'm not thinking of. Anyway, yeah, you've got, like I said, it feels like comics now.
It does.
Like they're just not scared of they're just like, nope, there it is. It's just there. But yeah, no, it was very good. I go back and forth since I've watched it the second time to see if this is my favorite Thor film or if Ragnarok is.
I lean a little bit more towards this movie, if only because of the soundtrack. Like, it was mostly Guns N' Roses, but then they had Dio playing in the credits, and
they did.
And I think that's ultimately what tipped me over.
And then help me out, because the name of the song I'm blanking on. When they do the first Thor montage, who can say what is that song called? I'm blanking so hard.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna see if it comes up on the soundtrack.
But yeah, the music was great. And again, Taika's always really good with that. Because like, again, Immigrant Song and Ragnarok, are you kidding me? And he said it in an interview when he picked it. He's like, I just couldn't understand for the life of me how no one had not used Immigrant Song for a Thor film. But yeah, I would love to see in an interview who was like, Guns N' Roses, all of it.
that had to have been Taika's idea.
Because it was Sweet Child of Mine,
Welcome to the Jungle,
Paradise City.
There was a bit of November Rain.
Yup. And I honestly, there was something else, but yeah, they had a lot in there. But this is really good. I was pleasantly surprised. I should say pleasantly surprised. I thought I was gonna like this, but I liked it even more than I thought I was going to.
The next time I see this, it'll be on Saturday, and I'm going to the 3D screening, which is going to be interesting. I don't know like how much of this movie was actually shot in 3D, so I'm worried that this might be mostly post converted. But yeah. I don't know. I'm still kind of looking forward to it.
The best 3D shot in any film to this day, from what I saw at the theater I was at, is in the original Avengers. When they're on the end and it's you could really use right now would be a good time to get angry. There's that shot where that Leviathan goes forward, and in how the 3D effect worked, it looked like the Leviathan was coming out of your head and into the screen.
Oh,
I don't know how they pulled it off, but it scared the shit out of me when I watched it in theaters, because I watched it opening night in 3D. Oh, that was so cool. I've never had a 3D effect come close to that. Man, it was awesome. But yeah, when done right, it's great. Not like the first 3D movie I ever saw was Green Hornet.
Ooh.
There was 2 3D effects in the entire film. When they're in the newspaper place and the guns are firing, 2 shells fell off the screen. And then when this credits start, a giant hornet embossed out. That was it. That was my first 3D film. There was roughly 10 seconds of 3D effects.
Yeah, not a good use of your 3D there.
Not only was that film terrible, that 3D was awful. Great time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Solid 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at as well.
I'd say so. I liked it a lot. Manny, Derpy, I appreciate you guys coming in. Derpy, you tend to be in here whenever we do Marvel. I want to say the last time you were in here, so we did a Marvel review. I appreciate you guys stopping by as always. Yeah, it was a good time. Is the next one Wakanda Forever?
Movie, yes. Before that is She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. I am not.
Oh, and I just looked this up a second ago. We're also getting a few Groot shorts.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Called I Am Groot.
Nice. I don't mean this in a bad way, but I do obviously, but like, and not because I did it intentionally. The only actual Marvel film that I had been genuinely worried about is Wakanda Forever.
Same. Here's the thing. And this is like the last tangent we'll go on before we head out of here.
Yeah.
I genuinely do not think that we're going to see this this year, unless either at San Diego Comic-Con or D23 they just come out swinging with like posters and a new trailer.
Yeah, or trailer period, right?
Yeah, there's been zero footage.
Yeah, because it's like you had everything happen with Chadwick, and then that probably swung the entire production of what they got to do, and then all that
Letitia
stuff
Wright
with
was being
herself, and then it's like I don't know if they want to deal with that again if they go forward, because it's like Black Panther is a very important character in the world and in this continuity of things. They need to have some representation for that. And I'm genuinely worried that with, again, you had a saint in Chadwick Boseman, and then now this, like, Ryan's going to try his best, and everyone on that set, I feel, is going to do the best they can. I just think they've been dealt the shittiest hand anyone in the MCU has received, or in some movies, period.
Mm-hmm.
They've just, everything has gone wrong that can, including it being in the middle of a pandemic as well.
So I'm not saying I don't want to see it this year. I'm just saying I don't think we're gonna get it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope like the first teaser or trailer or first look, whatever. I hope it knocks my socks off.
I hope so too, and it's just I don't care when we get it. Don't rush it. Whatever you need to do to make this be the film you want it to be, do it. It's getting to the point where with these movies, a lot of them recently, the actual core movie itself hasn't had to be in a certain order. It's not like this film wouldn't make sense if you didn't watch this one. A lot of these Phase 4 films have just been here, and then there's been set sprinkling of possible things later on and end credit scenes.
Yep.
So if it needs to take some time and it's not going to affect other films, just do what you need to.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Whoa, we had a comment there. They still do, in my opinion, Derpy. Sorry, bud. I thought they've always cared about storytelling, and this is one of the strongest examples they had of that, especially in Doctor Strange as well. They've been knocking it out of the park with story. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, but in my opinion, they've only gotten better.
Same.
So, yeah. All right, Mike. Where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at CaptainK42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, Podchaser, The Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
Absolutely. You can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. Again, like I said, not stream until I get my new setup. So that, again, after I finally got back to it, got over my anxiety, and then got back to that, I don't want to have crap for streaming. So I'm like, we're getting a little bit less cutouts. I'm trying whatever to satiate it until the new setup gets here. It's in process. We just had a lot of stuff coming up in the meantime when my baby started dying over here. So, but yeah, until next time, see ya.
Peace.